So imagine you're looking at a map of the future. The destination is crystal clear. It's a place where diseases are cured in years, not decades.
Right.
Where the cost of developing a life-saving drug just plummets and efficiency goes, well, through the roof. Everyone in the pharmaceutical industry agrees. That's where we need to go.
It's the golden age we've been promised for a little while now.
Exactly. But here's the catch. We're all sitting on this, high-tech bus. The engine is revving. The passengers are excited. But the people in the driver's seat,
They might not actually know how to drive.
that is a terrifying, yet I have to say a perfect analogy for the existential paradox facing the pharmaceutical industry right here in 2026.
It's the term the data keeps using, existential paradox.
Yes, we're looking at a massive stack of research today, articles, surveys, industry reports, and they all highlight this glaring disconnect. On one side, you have 85% of pharma leaders saying, yes, AI is an immediate strategic priority. We need this yesterday.
Which makes total sense. I mean, you can't open a browser without seeing the potential.
But then you get hit with a counter stat. And this is the one that just stops you in your tracks. 75% of organizations say the primary barrier to actually doing it is a lack of AI literacy in the C-suite.
So they want to fly the plane, but they skip flight school.
Completely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the stakes are just incredibly high. We're not just talking about missing a quarterly earning target or, being a little inefficient.
No, not at all. We are talking about leaving somewhere between $60 and $110 billion in annual value on the table.
That number is hard to even wrap your head around.
It's massive. But think about it in terms of time, which, is the real currency in pharma. We're talking about compressing drug development timelines from that grueling 10 to 15-year slog.
Down to just 3 to 6 years.
Exactly.
That's a decade of human life saved. A decade of patent life gained.
Right. But the source material is clear. You can't unlock that value with just technology. You can buy all the GPUs in the world, but if your leadership doesn't understand what they're holding, it's just, expensive metal.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack this leadership knowledge gap. We're going to figure out why a staggering 60 to 70% of AI initiatives are failing right now.
Which is a huge number.
And because we never leave you hanging, we are going to walk through the specific roadmap for building an executive team that actually knows what they're doing.
And it's less about learning to code and much more about learning to lead with confidence in a digital world.
Let's talk about that confidence, or maybe the lack of it. The report details something it calls the 42 percentage point confidence gap. Okay, so let's unpack this. 82% of healthcare leaders agree that understanding generative AI is required for the C-suite. They know they need it.
They know it's the future. It's not even a question.
But only 40% feel confident implementing it. That is a massive void.
And that gap is where the chaos happens. When you have that much pressure to adopt a technology, but that little confidence in how to use it, you just get bad decisions. You get panic buying.
Right.
And what's fascinating here is that when these projects fail, and remember, the majority of enterprise AI projects stall, it is rarely a technical failure.
It's not code.
Rarely. The math usually works. The Python script runs. It is almost always a leadership failure.
So what does a leadership failure look like in this context? Because I think a lot of us imagine, a server crashing or a robot going rogue. But it's more subtle than that, isn't it?
Much more subtle and a lot more expensive. One of the biggest root causes the research identifies is what they call the magic trap.
The magic trap. I love that name.
It happens when executives fall for the vendor marketing. They view AI as a black box. You have a complex problem, maybe a supply chain bottleneck or a drug target you can't hit.
Okay.
You put that problem in one side of the box, sprinkle some AI dust on it, and presto, a solution comes out.
Just fix it with AI.
Exactly. They sign off on projects with completely unrealistic expectations because they don't understand the capabilities or the limitations. And when the AI doesn't perform magic, because it's math, not magic, they get disillusioned and scrap the whole thing.
It feels like there's also a fundamental misunderstanding of what feeds the AI.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out, but it seems like at the executive level, this is getting ignored.
It is. This is the second failure mode, undervaluing data. Leaders love the shiny new application, the chatbot, the predictive model, but they often approve these projects without realizing that data is the bedrock.
They buy the car but forget the gas.
It's worse. They put sludge in the tank. If you don't have a governance framework, or if your data is unstructured, messy, or biased, even the most sophisticated algorithm is just going to give you a wrong answer faster.
Hmm.
And if a leader doesn't know to ask, how clean is this data set, before signing the check, they're setting the project up to fail from day one.
Which leads to what the report calls solution-first thinking.
This is the classic mistake of buying technology because it's trendy, before you have actually defined the business problem you're trying to solve.
Right, checking the box. We have AI now.
But AI without a business case is just a very expensive toy. And finally, there's the issue of silos. Pharma is traditionally very compartmentalized. R&D sits in their tower, commercial sits in theirs, IT is in the basement.
And never the three shall meet.
Precisely. But AI needs data to flow horizontally across those walls to learn effectively. If leadership doesn't actively break those silos down, the AI is starved of context. It can't see the full picture.
Okay, so we've established that the problem isn't the robots. It's the humans running the company. Let's pivot to the solution. If you are an executive listening to this or you're trying to manage up to one, what do they actually need to know? Because I assume we're not asking the CEO to go back to school to learn linear algebra.
No, and that's a critical distinction. Executives don't need to be coders, they need to be translators. They need to bridge the gap between business value and technical capability. And the research identifies 6 core competencies.
Okay, let's run through these because this feels like the meat of the issue. Number 1 is strategic vision.
This is all about moving beyond tech for tech's sake. It's about differentiation. A leader needs to look at an AI proposal and ask, is this just making us 5% faster at something everyone else does?
Or is it allowing us to do something our competitors literally cannot do?
Exactly. Are we just processing invoices faster, or are we discovering molecules that were completely invisible to us before? That's the strategic question.
Competency number 2 is technical understanding. And again, you said no coding. But the report mentions understanding the difference between narrow AI and AGI, or knowing what supervised learning is. Why does a commercial director need to know what supervised learning is?
Because otherwise, they can't ask the hard questions. Let's break it down really quick. Supervised learning basically means training the AI on labeled examples, like showing it a million pictures of cancer cells versus healthy cells so it learns the difference.
Okay, that seems simple enough.
But if a leader understands that concept, they know to ask the follow-up question. Where do those label images come from? Are they diverse? Or did we just train this on data from one specific population?
So it's about understanding the ingredients to trust the meal.
Exactly. If you don't understand the basics of how the machine learns, you can't vet the tool. You're flying blind. You need to know enough to have a BS detector when a vendor promises the world.
That makes a lot of sense. It's really about risk management. Okay, competency number 3 in the report labels this as a critical point is change leadership.
This one is huge because AI faces acute resistance. People are afraid. They're afraid of the black box because they don't understand how decisions are made, and frankly, they're afraid of losing their jobs.
So how does a leader fix that? Usually, mandating innovation from the top down just makes people dig their heels in.
You're right, you can't just order people to like AI. The most effective strategy the research highlights is deputizing AI ambassadors.
AI ambassador.
Yeah, you find those enthusiastic early adopters, the people who are naturally curious, and maybe a junior scientist or a marketing manager who's already using these tools on the weekends, and you empower them.
So it's grassroots.
It's peer-to-peer influence. It's not the boss telling you to use it. It's your colleague showing you how it saved them 4 hours of grunt work on a Friday. That's how you actually shift the culture.
I like that. It feels much more organic. Okay, competency 4, governance and compliance. Yeah. This sounds a little dry, but in pharma, we know this is life or death.
It is. The FDA is watching very, very closely. In fact, 25% of FDA warning letters since 2019 cite data accuracy issues.
Wow, a quarter of them.
A quarter of them. So if your AI messes up the data integrity, you are in regulatory hot water. Leaders need to understand responsible AI. They need RACI matrices, knowing exactly who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for every AI decision. You cannot innovate if you're not compliant.
Right. You can't move fast and break things when things are patience. Competency 5 is financial acumen. Measuring the ROI of AI seems Slippery.
It's notoriously difficult. It's not just cash flow, it's capability building. Maybe the ROI isn't money today, but it's the ability to develop a drug 5 years faster down the road.
So how do you even model that?
Well, the data shows that companies that do effectively measure AI value grow profits 80% faster. So CFOs need to get comfortable with new models of valuation valuing time saved and capabilities gained, not just headcount reduction.
And finally, number 6, cross-functional collaboration.
Breaking down the walls. We touched on this, but it's just essential. You need R&D, manufacturing, and commercial teams sitting at the same table, sharing data. If R&D keeps their data a secret, the manufacturing AI can't optimize the production line for that new drug. The left hand has to talk to the right hand.
It all sounds great on paper, but I want to see this in the wild. The report highlights some real-world success stories companies that are actually getting this right.
Yeah.
Let's start with Tofi. They seem to be going all in.
They are. Their CEO, Paul Hudson, has taken a very aggressive, all-in approach. He talks about agentic AI systems that can take action, not just analyze. But the specific win that caught my eye is something called Code and Bird.
Code and Bird. Okay, that sounds like a character from a sci-fi show. Break that down for me. What is it?
So think of large language models like the chatbots we all use. They're trained on text, internet articles, books to predict the next word in a sentence.
Okay.
Sanofi, partnering with others, essentially did the same thing, but instead of English text, they trained the model on 10 million mRNA sequences.
So it's learning the language of biology.
Exactly. Codons are the words of genetic code. By training a model on this biological grammar, Code and Bird can predict how well an mRNA vaccine will work or how stable it'll be.
And what was the result? I mean, the real-world impact.
It cut their mRNA design time by 50%.
50%.
That is massive. That's the difference between getting a vaccine to trials in months versus years. And importantly, it happened because leadership championed the tool and invested in that data foundation.
Then there's Moderna. We all know them from the pandemic, but their AI story goes deeper than just the vaccine, right?
Oh, yeah. Moderna is a fascinating example of cloud-native speed because they built their infrastructure in the cloud from day one. They didn't have 50 years of legacy servers in a basement. They could scale their analytics instantly. During the COVID-19 vaccine trials, they reduced clinical trial data processing from months down to hours.
Hours. That is incredible.
It allowed them to make data-driven decisions almost in real time. That's what technical literacy at the top enables. Knowing that cloud infrastructure isn't just an IT decision, it's a strategic speed advantage.
Let's look at manufacturing. J&J has a factory in India, the Muland factory, that's doing some interesting things.
This is a classic case of operational excellence. They implemented predictive maintenance using AI. So basically, instead of waiting for a machine to break and stopping the line,
The AI sees it coming.
it sees it coming, it monitors vibration and heat patterns. It tells you, hey, this bearing is going to fail in 48 hours, so you fix it during a shift change instead of having an emergency shutdown.
What did that do for them?
They achieved a 50% reduction in unplanned downtime. That is huge for the bottom line. But in pharma, reliability is also a quality issue. Consistent machines mean consistent drugs.
And we can't talk about pharma without talking about heavy hitters like Roche and GSK. They seem to be taking a governance-first approach.
Yeah, which is so smart. Roche created a responsible AI team and a playbook before scaling up. They knew that if they didn't have clear rules in place, they would hit a wall later.
So they built the guardrails before they built the highway.
Perfect way to put it. They focused on bottom-up ethics integration, making sure the scientists and the staff bought into the guidelines so it wasn't just a poster on the wall.
So we've seen the problem, we've seen the skills needed, and we've seen the success stories. Now, let's get practical. If you're listening to this and you realize, uh-oh, my leadership team has a knowledge gap, how do you fix it? The expert in our source material says it is not a one-time seminar.
Absolutely not. You cannot learn a new language in a weekend, and you can't learn AI strategy in a seminar. The report outlines a phased learning journey.
Let's walk through the map. Phase 1 is assessment.
Right. You have to know what you don't know. You survey the C-suite. Where are the gaps? Does the CFO actually understand the ROI potential? Does the CEO understand the regulatory risks? You have to establish a baseline before you start teaching.
Then comes Phase 2, the boot camp. And this isn't just watching a few TED Talks over lunch.
No, this is an intensive 3 to 5 day immersion. And crucially, it needs to be the whole C-suite together. They need to establish a shared vocabulary. They need to sit in a room and agree on what generative AI actually means for their company.
Because if the CTO defines it one way and the head of commercial defines it another...
You're never going to align. It's about getting everyone speaking the same language.
Okay, that makes sense. Then phase 3 is strategy.
This is where you take that new knowledge and apply it. You develop a blueprint. You prioritize use cases. You don't try to do everything. You pick the high ROI, high readiness projects.
This is what you decide.
Mm.
Are we building something complex like Code and Bird, or do we need to start by automating our expense reports?
Exactly. Prioritization. And finally, phase 4.
Enablement.
The rollout, right. Change management. Launching AI centers of excellence. This is where you turn the strategy into daily operations.
The report also mentions that this training has to be customized. You can't just give the same slide deck to the CEO and the chief data officer.
No, that's a guaranteed way to lose their attention. The CEO needs vision and change leadership training. The CFO needs ROI modeling and risk assessment. The CDO needs the technical depth. If you give the CFO a lecture on neural network architecture, they're going to tune out. You have to make it relevant to their lever of power.
It really emphasizes that this is an ongoing process. It's not one and done.
The technology is moving way too fast. If you learned AI in 2023, you're already behind in 2026. It has to be continuous learning.
So let's bring this all home. What's the big takeaway here?
The summary is this. The scarcest resource in the pharmaceutical industry right now isn't data. We have tons of data. It isn't algorithms. You can license those. It's AI literate leadership. That is the bottleneck.
And what for you, the listener?
If you're part of an organization that invests in this education now, you're positioning yourself to capture that $110 billion in value. You are the one who will survive the consolidation. If you delay, you risk marginalization. It is that simple.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The final thought I want to leave you with is this. We often think great leaders need to be visionaries who can predict the future.
But they don't.
Exactly. AI-literate executives don't need a crystal ball. They don't need to know exactly what the world will look like in 10 years. They just need the framework to make confident decisions in the face of uncertainty.
That's it. It's about having the mental tools to navigate the fog.
The question isn't, will AI transform the industry? We know it will. The question is, will the current leadership be the ones to guide it?
Or will they be replaced by those who can?
A provocative thought to end on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
See you next time.